With the announcement of the 5 million download celebration, I was going to assume that the next banner was maybe going to be something a little bit hype, maybe possibly like Sword Demon Berwick, but instead we got this. Also, not to mention too, this is a 3-year-old event that we are getting here. This is a whole saga event that we never got on Global. This is actually where Joker Celia and Elizabeth and all of them are from. And as you see, this banner kind of corresponds with it. We have Joker Celia, Elizabeth, Earth Rosetta, Light Thetas, and Dark Rivi. And I know a lot of people may look at this banner and write it off, especially a lot of newer players, because there's some really weird misconceptions out there. Like, people just believe awoken characters are terrible, which is just wild to me, because that's definitely not the case. In order for you to have some of the best teams in the game, you need awoken characters still. Like, have you seen 12th Generation Mizuki? No one's doing his job as a super awoken character. But are these awoken characters, or this batch of characters, worth it? Well, let's talk about it. Now, Joker Celia at one point was the queen of the mines, but is she still? I would say yeah, pretty much. Of course, we do have other characters in the game now that can kind of do a similar thing, like Rin, for an example. Really, the only problem with this unit is that she relies heavily on freezing enemies, which isn't too bad whenever you're fighting mines and stuff like that, because you're able to freeze the mobs, for an example. But if you're doing stuff like Summoner's Road, a lot of bosses are immune to freeze. So she's not going to be able to get off her damage buffs, which means that she's not going to be able to really scale and do tons of DPS like she is known to do. Still, she does have some really good utility because she is able to actually apply 100% crit res down on an enemy. Elizabeth, I don't know if I like this unit. The main thing is that she has potential in certain compositions and certain stages. The reason being is because she's able to lower the enemy's burn, poison, and disease resist by 50%, and she's able to inflict disease, and she's also able to help other characters that want to inflict status elements of those kinds onto bosses. And not to mention too, if you don't have Melty, she can kind of suffice as being somewhat of a Melty replacement, I guess, because of the True Art being able to reduce the enemy's damage res by 50%. Of course, if you're using her in that situation, it's not going to be as good as Melty, because Melty has a lot more supporting stuff, but you get the point. She's okay at best, and is probably only going to be used in very specific situations. Earth Rosetta is next. Now, Earth Rosetta is one of the first characters to have the new Magia Drive Unlimited mechanic, and because of that, her Magia Drive Unlimited actually winds up being really good, except it just takes you a very long time to get into it. Because as we explained with Earth Rosetta, use her True Art, go into Magia Drive. You then have to use her art to activate Magia Drive Unlimited. Then you have to use your True Art again to get off the crazy damage with Magia Drive Unlimited, as well as the equipment CT buff and all that. So you need a total of technically 500 art gauge to even get this unit really at her peak performance. However, she's really fun to mess around with, and she's not a bad unit whatsoever if you want to build teams around her, but a lot of people may just opt in to go with characters that are a little bit easier to use. Light Thetas is very depressing for an awoken character. This guy is supposed to be like GS's version of Saitama, and he's just bad. He's just worse in every single way possible. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend using Light Thetas really at all. Like, he's not like a terrible character. You can get away with using him, but in optimal situations, you're better off using whoever else. Now, Dark Rivi, on the other hand, is one character that is kind of worth looking at, since she is also a Magia Drive Unlimited character. She's able to arch gen for the whole team. She has pretty good support slots, well, at least one, because she has a 5-star support, and she has some magic stuff to help her get into her art gauge a little bit quicker. But yeah, I think this unit may be somewhat of a staple on demon teams, at least in the beginning, or if you don't have Ainz, this might be a really good pseudo replacement, let me say, for a character like Ainz. The reason being is because if you get into Magia Drive Unlimited, you're able to pretty much generate 7 arts per second for the team, since her True Art gives you 4 arts per second, and then the passive gives you 3 arts per second. Worst part about this is that her arch gen type is type B on the True Art, so it's not going to be able to stack with other type B arch geners. Also, even if you have Ainz, this character is still amazing. Actually, I would argue that she works probably the best with Ainz. Being able to give everyone the massive amounts of arch gen on top of the magic resist down on the True Art, not to mention Ainz being able to lower crit res and even buff up crit damage and everything else, you're going to make this unit and pretty much everyone else on your team hit extremely hard. Out of everyone in this banner, she's one of the characters that has a lot of uses. She's definitely the most versatile on the banner. Does that mean that she's the best, like in terms of like top tier? She like SS tier or something like that? Not necessarily, but she is definitely one that you're going to be able to get a lot of use out of if you do wind up picking her up. Which brings us to the verdict. This banner is pretty much a skip. Even if you are somebody who is interested in like Dark Rivi, Light Thetas, or whoever, it's practically not even worth it. At this point, these characters are going to be in the Forever Summon within the next year or so anyway, so if you wanted them, you can just wait till then. Not to mention too, the fact that they announced a live stream event literally next week, that probably means that we're going to be having some type of crazy announcement. Maybe the new crossover event being Hell's Paradise will be announced, and then also it's possible that Sword Demon Berwick and even like Star God Lisa gets shown or something like that. Who knows? But either way, that's going to be it for this video, man. Thank you all for coming out. Tell me down below, are you guys going to be summoning on this banner, or are you just going to be skipping and saving your crystals? Me, myself, I'm going to be skipping, going to be saving. Don't really care too much for it. I'll just wait till these guys get added to the Forever Summon, then I'll try to get them. But hey, let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Would love to read them. Oh, and one more thing before you leave. Don't forget to drink water.